People. Que pasa, suck, say what they do. Welcome to Crime Time News, where the difference is in the meds. Call it news with a buzz. Topic that I am going to speak about today is, why did Usain Bolt fire his manager, longtime manager? As a matter of fact, the person that actually discovered Usain Bolt, put him out there to the world. His name is Norman Pearce. I am also going to speak about some conflicting things that I've seen out there since the start of this exposure of SSL, Stocks and Security Limited. There's been conflicting amount of money that Usain Bolt invested. At one time, it was $10 million, and then with the interest, it came up to 12.7 million US dollars, that is. So that sounded kind of logical. However, since the Bank of Jamaica put in some sorts of interim manager in a SSL, and they have all sorts of forensic auditors, we've heard that there were a couple of deposits made to SSL and then sent to our next company overseas, St. Lucia to be specific. However, it is now verified. The verified amount is that between 2012 to 2017, Bolt invested 6.2 million. I have heard 6.5. However, those figures are in the same ball ground. It is then said that between 2019 to 2022, last year that is, he invested 900,000 US dollar, 100,000 short of $1 million. Both of those money were removed between 2012 to 2017, the 6.2 that was removed, and then he added an additional 900,000 between 2019 2022. That was also removed. So therefore, call it $7.1 million US dollars, that is. Now, we saw that Usain Bolt fired his manager, Norman Pearce, last year. Norman Pearce said they parted way amicable agreement. Usain Bolt said that he was fired in an interview that he did. So therefore, we're going to go with what Usain Bolt said. However, the question we have to ask, why was he fired after all this time? Remember, him exposed Bolt to the world. He was managing Bolt for in excess of a decade or so. I think from 2008, please, before 2008, sorry, don't quote me though. So therefore, over a decade, call it say a decade and a half or so, 15 years. Between that time, in my estimation, Usain Bolt probably made $200 million in that time. Don't quote me again. And why I say 200 million is because the last 4 years that he was active in track and field, call it say 2012 to 2016, 2017, his contract, the amount that was verified, he was making in excess of $30 million a year. From Puma alone, a contract that he signed that was $10 million annually. And the reason why I am saying this, Pearce was his manager. Pearce was not just his manager, so therefore Pearce's management fee would have been in the range of 10% just being a manager. However, when you are also a finder or the person that secure you or expose you to the world, that management fee could be 20%, 15 could be 25. So if we do the maths and Usain Bolt made, call it said 200 million. He make over 100 million. So therefore, if we say at a fee of 150 million, put it in the middle, that means Mr. Peart at 10% would have made $15 million. At 20%, he would have made $30 million, right? So therefore, you would consider somebody like that have accumulated 15 to 30 million, a rich person, especially when that money is transferred in a Jamaica, even though the money is going to devalue then. However, a rich man nevertheless. Now, we saw that when that lady, Jean Ann Panton, came out and showed the victims, the 39 victims or so, Mr. Peart was also one of those victims. The amount that she took from him based on what she said, based on her confession, based on what she signed and sealed, sworn confession to the investigators, she took $35,000 from Mr. Peart, Norman Peart that is. She did not mention Bolt's name, none at all. Bolt was the name that everybody was talking about because of his stature in a life and the fact that he is a global superstar. She never mentioned anything after that. After the forensic auditors went in and them dig up the files, them realized, yes, this is the facts. 6-point-something million between 2012 2017, an additional 900,000 after 2019-2022. It was then that some figures or some documentation came out that Mr. Peart and Jean Ann were the signatures, the two persons that signed on the accounts. A company that was open in St. Lucia, I think the name is Welljam LLC, Limited Liability Company. I think that is what it means. There was a signature. The signature that was on the confession statement was different from the signature that was on the company that was open in St. Lucia, the signature of Mrs. Panton. However, there is still not confirmation whether the signature of Norman Peart is legitimate or was it forged. So therefore, it is inconclusive if he had anything to do with that account that was opened. And people, you have to understand, when you are a liar, you are a thief. When you're a thief, you're a liar, because you're always trying to cover your tracks. And the reason why I say this, that in my opinion, and people may not know this man could be one of the wickedest man after all that he has done for Bolt, and mostly what Bolt has done for him, because at the end of the day, it is Bolt's talent, Bolt's God-given ability, Bolt's personality and charm that really make him escalate and blow up in the world, for lack of a better word. So therefore, Peart was the beneficiary also, because Usain Bolt was the man. But me just say, we have to ask the question, should we trust Miss Panton when she opened that account, because it was her signature, even though the signatures did not match? But we know say as she, because she, based on the documentation that you're seeing, this account or these transfer were made by Miss Panton. So therefore, we know say she have access to the money, she have managed everything, she have thief everything. So me just say, Bolt has to be careful that you're not implicating somebody that might not, and might is the operative word, be guilty of stealing from you. Because people, the truth and the fact is that Peart is a wealthy man. Peart was living good off Bolt's talent, even though he exposed him to the world, even though he made him famous. So therefore, there was a symbiotic relationship, not a parasitic relationship. However, Bolt is the main figure, the main component in all of this ingredient called success of the track legend. So people, when we look at the whole situation as it pertains to Usain Bolt and his ex-manager, we know that he has a manager, NJ, that is more of a personal manager. We know that Bolt was managed by Norman Peart for in excess of 10 to 15 years or so. And then he also had a manager, a HITE man, that pretty much booked all the events that he raced in. So therefore, 3 managers, he is a filthy rich man, still filthy rich after losing all of this cash. The next point I want to get at, when I heard the figure that $10 million and then with the interest brought it up to 12.7, almost $13 million, I say, yeah, that sounds logical, because remember, there is documentation out there that he was buying blue chip stocks. Those are stocks in which the risk is high, however, the reward is higher. Those stocks are pretty much sure stocks, but like me say, a whole heap of risk. So therefore, when you look at the percentage, if you're talking about 5 or 7 or 10, it fluctuates and it goes up annually. It makes sense. However, when we look at the fact that it was 6.2 and then the next 900,000, $7 million in a 10-year span, and then you say is 12.7 them owe you. 12.7 million US them owe you. It is possible, based on the amount of interest that he would have gained and the type of chips and how him rotate the money or flip the money. It's possible. However, not very logical. That means he would have almost double his money, or at least get a next 80% return on his money, somewhere around there. I'm no maths genius. When we hear figures like those, it falls in the category of Ponzi scheme. If something sounds too good to be true, more than likely it is the point that I am trying to make. So therefore, me just say, at the end of the day, remember, Bolt is the athlete. Bolt is not a financial wizard. Bolt don't know anything about investment or stock other than the people that he pay to monitor his affair, monitor his money, the decisions that they make. In my estimation, opinion, not knowing Mr. Peart, I don't know if Mr. Peart's background is in finance, stock, or whatever. Me no know not about him other than that his title is manager of Bolts. The point that I am trying to make is that if you are making that much money on a multi-millionaire, then it is your job as the manager to make sure you are checking on the affairs, the well-being, financial stability of that person that you are managing. That means you're supposed to jump in your car on a regular basis, go check Miss Panton, go look over the books at SSL, keep in tune with what is going on with the company that is investing your client's money. So, I understand why Bolt would fire this manager, because at best, in the favor of the manager or ex-manager, Norman Peart, he was irresponsible. It was gross negligence. However, Bolt is the big victim along with the other 9,000 victims, because whenever you call up Bolt name, people get them feelings. But you have to understand that Bolt is the main person Bolt is why it is getting the highlight that it is getting. Not to say that Bolt's money is more important than the other people, because Bolt obviously can. Not saying that he should be able to take a hit, because your money are your money, regardless if you have 10 billion, 10 gazillion, or $10. It does not matter. He was wrong along with 9,000 other persons at least that we know about. So me just say, at best, the manager was grossly negligent. He was not doing his job. He was sleeping on his job. They caught him slipping. He himself, as the manager, if he did not know anything about stocks and investment, he should have hired. He should have spoken to his client, you see, in Bolt, and say, you know, say, me not really know nothing about this. We need to get the advice of somebody that is an expert on this at the expense of Bolt, which would have been not penny wise and pound foolish, would have been very wise financial advice. However, people, sometimes people like to act like them know everything. He was not going to tell Bolt, say, listen, you know, say, me no know nothing, I me no know nobody. So what he did, whether he was approached by Mr. Harding recommended that we have a wealth advisor being Jean Ann Panton. Talk to this lady, she knows what she's doing. She will set you up being the operative word. So therefore, he took advice from possibly somebody else to take the advice of Jean Panton, who was managing the affairs. Now, when I said that, more than likely, in my opinion, Mr. Peart was not part of the signature of that account that transferred the money from SSL to St. Lucia, is the fact that Bolt would not and should not have said he was okay with two other persons signing on his behalf, even if a management, without his name being there. That is no sort of sensible move. So therefore, we have to ask the question, was Bolt taken advantage of? Was Jean Ann Panton manipulating Bolt and Bolt's manager? Is it possible that even though she stole $35,000, which she showed in her sworn statement to the investigators about SSL, would she come back again and go into some sort of business with Mr. Peart? People, remember, the signature on the paperwork for that Welljam SSL in a St. Lucia is different from the signature of the confession to the investigators. So therefore, we cannot listen to anything that this lady says. We have to take it with more than a grain of salt, the whole sea of salt, because we see she is a liar, a serial thief. You can't trust nothing what she say. So my point is this. I know that Usain Bolt fired his manager. However, they need to talk. They need to get to the bottom of this situation and find out. Remember, Bolt's manager, ex-manager, was also interviewed, at least 2 or 3 interviews. He came out and he said he has nothing to do with anything. He never thief anything. But people, we know so when people thief, them lie, they will deny. So I am not swearing for Mr. Peart against what Bolt is saying. Me just say, could it be possible that both persons were being manipulated? Both persons were swindled and thief from Miss Panton. So therefore, him a thief from the manager, him a thief from the client. Bolt need to talk to his ex-manager. Both of them need to contact each other. both of them need to talk to the investigators, which I think that they are through the lawyer. However, people, at the end of the day, like me say, whatever sounds too good to be true is more than likely a scam, a sham, a Ponzi scheme. So therefore, Hardbold put in 7.1, that are 6.2, plus 900,000, that are 7.2. And then expect forget back 12.7. People, that is $5.7 million in an interest per $7.1 million. Don't know, that would have been some sort of experts to get you that amount of interest on 7.1 or so million dollars. People may just say, it sounds too good to be true, so therefore more than likely it is. Point blank and period. So anyways, people, thanks once again for checking out my video. If you appreciate videos like this, please show your appreciation by liking, commenting, and sharing to my channel. That is how YouTube promotes videos like these to like-minded, sensible persons like yourself. Bless up.